So after Duke 3D, I mean, you mentioned that the Duke Forever project starts, which I'll ask you about in a minute, but Prey was, I don't know quite where that fell in the timeline. My memory is maybe not quite serving
Well,
well
there's two stages to Prey. The team that did Rise of the Triad, they began working on their next game, which was Prey.
Okay.
And this is when we had like a 1998 E3 demo that did super well. You know, PC Gamer said it was like one of the games of the show. You know, we even had a portal gun that was kind of like the game Portal, to where the character could shoot and create a portal and then make another one and go through it and kind of do really crazy things. Very mind-blowing stuff back
at the time. Yeah, it was just we'd never seen that before.
So we were really, Prey's whole gimmick was going to be portals.
Yes.
And the thing is that we could never really get over the hump of getting the engine finished. We brought in some other engine people, and it just never panned out. So we decided, let's just put all of our eggs into the Duke Nukem basket, Duke Nukem Forever at the time, and we'll revisit Prey another day. So our publisher, GT Interactive, actually had put $900,000 into the game. We paid them back. We said,
oh, wow.
Here, you guys can take this money back. We're putting this game on hold, and we don't want you to pressure us. So that game kind of sat around, and then Mike Wilson with the Gathering Developers, and 3D Realms was part of that at the time. He said, have you thought about bringing Prey back? And yeah, I would love to. And he said that there's this team Human Head who could do it, and Take-Two would fund it.
From Wisconsin, from back in Madison, offshoot of, started by ex-Raven people.
Exactly. And so I was all for it. And so we put together the deal, and I started working with Human Head, and me and their main guy over there, Chris Reinhardt.
Yeah.
We were working together daily on this. So my two projects at this time were Max Payne and Prey for the most part, and my partner George was Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
And so we started working on Prey, and had to have portals. So they were using the Doom engine, the Doom 3 tech at the time, I think, and they rigged it up to where it could have portals, and we developed a whole story and all this kind of stuff. And they came up with a lot of great ideas. Like some of the ideas they had were like this wall walking idea. And flipping gravity around, so they were being creatively involved and doing great things. So the one place where we dropped the ball though was that we didn't carry over the idea of the portal gun, and I wanted that in the game still, but it just didn't get in there because there was actually a lot of pressure from Take-Two to get the game out early, and they actually for a while there, for like 6 months, they actually were upset that we weren't listening to their producer, so they stopped funding the game.
Wow.
3D Realms picked up the slack during that time to keep Human Head going, and because we were going to see it through no matter what.
Yep.
And then when Take-Two saw that, wow, this is really shaping up kind of sweetly, they came back in and picked up the funding again, but they said, it needs to be done by this date. And so we had to make some changes and stuff, and the portal gun didn't make it in there. And to this day, I'm like,
well, I have to respectfully ask, though, given that, how come you didn't just tell them to F off again, like you did the last time?
Well, we wanted them to fund the project because we had our own funding thing. We were doing that.
Right, and Duke.
Duke, and we just wanted to keep our money to make sure we could get Duke done, and so. And we still thought the game would do really well, and we thought, well, we'll get to the Portal Gun, the sequel.
Right.
But before that happened, the game Portal came out and stole our thunder. So.
Yeah. So, what I remember it being excellent, number one, for the Prey that did ship. I feel like the multiplayer didn't get the attention it deserved. It was like this MC Escher-esque thing. You're talking about like the wall walking, and you'd be in a multiplayer match and someone would be like tiny and on the ceiling, and it was all just weird perspective stuff.
Right.
That had to be really fun to play test and work on.
The play testing for that game, our whole company loved all that because we really played with gravity in that game, and we had like these rooms that had huge spherical just huge spheres that it could take you a full minute to run around. But imagine running around the outside of a sphere, and then at some point you could jump, and there'd be another sphere, and you could jump to that.
Yeah.
So it really opened up a lot of creative possibilities for death matching and so on. And yeah, but the game, just as a whole, I don't think that Take-Two was fully behind the game, to be honest, and because they didn't own the IP. And looking back, this was at a time when publishers were really crossing the tipping point on, if we don't own the IP, we're not going to put all of our eggs in this basket because we don't know what's going to happen next. And if we would have sold the IP to them, which I would have probably been willing to do, we'd already sold Max Payne to them at that point. Then I think they would have been way more behind it, and I think would have got the proper marketing push.
Well, even though I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I mean, we're on the subject. I'm curious. Prey 2 was a game that never came out, pretty famously, and went through a lot of sort of public stuff. But I remember I was shown a vertical slice demo of it as part of a cover pitch back at OXM, and you were still involved at that point. Because it was Human Head coming, but it sort of famously had very little, seemingly aesthetically, to do with the original Prey. I'm curious if you kind of speak to the thought process behind that original pitch for Prey 2.
Well, we figured that the original Prey didn't do as well as we hoped. So, but we liked the universe. Let's find a way to introduce new characters, a new sort of hero character.
Yeah.
So, in the original Prey, there's this pretty famous scene of this airliner suddenly being warped into this huge mothership and crashing, and you get to witness it. It's a really cool scene in the game. Anyway, the deal is that with Prey 2, there's a bounty hunter and a prisoner or something on that plane, and those characters become the lead characters in Prey 2. Tommy has a cameo in Prey 2, so you realize, so just to maintain the fact that it's still in the same universe and everything, but it's more about this bounty hunter and his story. And so yeah, we were gonna make Prey 2 and be in the same universe, but kind of a different story, almost like a bit of a Marvel thing. You've got your Thor and Iron Man.
The Prey cinematic universe.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I didn't even think about it really that way back then, but the idea was, we'll deviate a little bit here, and then later we'll connect up again, because we felt like there was a lot more to Tommy's story that could be told. So that was the thinking there.
Is it? I mean, I'm sure you've had many projects over the years that don't make it for whatever reason. It's just mostly the public doesn't hear about those. Does Prey 2, is that one you wish had seen the finish line, or do you kind of just mentally kind of have to move on when that stuff happens?
I mean, I do move on, but definitely I wish that game would have been finished. I mean, I think that I think it would have done really well. I think it, it was going to be published by Bethesda, because Take-Two had kind of disassociated themselves with it, so we took it to Bethesda. I think that they were going to be way more behind it, and I think it would have got the marketing it deserved, and I think it would have been a really big hit. But there was some issues with Bethesda not liking some of the budgetary concerns with the game, and so they ended up dropping support for the game, and Human Head moved on.